Hey there, guys. So, for those of you who know me, which is like 5 of you that's going to be watching this video, hi. For those who don't, my name's Kenneth, and I'm going to start reviewing booze. I plan on starting with whiskeys, scotches, bourbons, but I really think ultimately other things are going to come onto this channel. So any sort of spirit and probably some barrel aged beers. So um, thanks for checking it out. So there's a few things that we got going here. Question one's probably um, why? Why are you doing this? Well, I really like whiskey and bourbons. I've not had a lot of scotch. I'm trying to get into those a little bit. And in general, I don't know. I've got a couple friends who have channels. So Six Slayer Six Sam Six. Some of you may know him. He does stout reviews and metal beer reviews, and he also does some dumb stuff with four-wheelers, bikes, things like that. So if you're into any of that, go check his channel out. And then my buds Adam and PJ at Craft Controversy, they're doing a lot of beer reviews, and they got a lot of exciting stuff coming up. PJ is going to the Great American Beer Fest. Adam is going to Sheldon Brothers down in Louisville. So if you're into craft beer, those guys of any style. Sam is your guy on stouts, and those guys are kind of doing a little bit of everything. So go check those guys out. And seeing those two guys do this stuff, I was like, well, I could probably do this. So here we are. So for those who don't know me, I live in Southern Indiana, so I'm really right on the cusp there, bourbon country, and I think that's really why I got into whiskeys and bourbons. It's so readily available. Um, there's something about it that I really like. It's just the flavor, the sort of the harshness with the sweetness. That type of alcohol just really appeals to me. Plus, it gets you really drunk. When you're trying to just drink to drink, uh, you know, that does the job fairly quickly if you do it right. Um, so yeah, a lot of these first ones that I'm going to be reviewing or giving you my opinion on, talking about, I've had before in various capacities. I've got a couple bottles here. I've only had one drink out of them, and it's been a while since I've drank anything out of them, so I really don't have a well-formulated opinion. But some of these, I've drank almost an entire bottle, or it's the second time I bought it, or something like that. So I kind of have an idea of where I'm going. But until you actually are sitting down, having to explain why you feel a way about a thing, it's really not. It's really not a thing that I have a lot of experience with. So, thanks for joining me on the journey, and hopefully, I'll give you an idea of how I feel about these particular alcohols, and hopefully, eventually, some of you guys who have had these before can chime in, tell me what you think, and we can have a cool conversation about some of our favorite alcohols. So, ground rules. I'm going to be rating them on a 1 to 10 scale. That's it. No 0.5s, no 0.25s, none of that nonsense. 1 to 10. 1 means this thing's absolute garbage. I don't think anyone's going to produce a bourbon or a whiskey or a scotch like that, but you never know. 10 is absolutely amazing. Even if I find something I really like, it's going to be really hard. It's going to really have to win me over. There's going to have to be something really, really special about it for me to give it a 10. And I just think that's how it should work. It really should be an outstanding product. If I'm going to give it a 10, it needs to be a really awful product if I'm going to give it a 1. So that's just how I roll. Also, all my tastings for at least our alcohols, our hard alcohols, is going to be out of this Woodford Reserve glass that I picked up. It's pretty cool. It's a nice little tasting glass. I picked it up at the bottle shop in Madison, Indiana. They had it as part of a gift set, and I just thought, well, I like that glass. I'll go ahead and buy it. Um, and it's served me well. It served me well in drinking my various types of, uh, of hard alcohol. And it's just a perfect little glass. It's like a mini snifter almost. Uh, and it just really gives you a lot of the character. You can see the content. You really get a good nose on it. I really like this glass. And with that being said, that is going to be my first review here. It's going to be the Woodford Reserve that came with the tasting set here. And I've had Woodford several times before. As you can tell, this bottle is, almost empty, or it's well on its way. Um, and I'll be upfront right now that it's not one of my favorites, but you know, I have some ideas, but I've not really had to. Once again, I've not had to express these thoughts to anyone or in front of anyone, or trying to explain why I don't like the thing that I like about it. So, or the things I dislike about it, I guess. And so it'll be great. It'll be great exercise for me to be like, hey, well, this is why I don't like a thing. It's so easy to sit down and say, this sucks or this is good, but until you say why you like it or why you dislike it, you can't really branch out and expand your horizons. So let's get to it here. And which I've had this bottle for a long time, but the one thing I really like to do when I'm opening up a bottle, especially something I've never had before, I really like just smelling the cork. It'll give you a good sense of what you're getting into. If it's not something that you're used to drinking or something you've had, just give the cork a smell. It will absorb some of that smell of the whiskey. It's fainter smells, but it's definitely smells that are there, and smells very much like the bottle. One thing I really do love about this whiskey, this bourbon, is the color. It's got this really nice orange amber color. It just looks really, really nice floating around in this bottle. I don't know if you'll be able to tell the color depth there, but it has almost a syrupy quality. It's like a thin syrup. I don't know. It's a nice color. I really like it. And probably enough for tasting there. All right, and do a little zoom on here, and good. That's some Woodford. So let's get a nose on this, and you definitely get a lot of the wood going. It's not super strong, you definitely get a slight bit of char, but it really, as far as the char on the barrel goes, and for those who don't know, bourbon is made in char oak barrels, okay? So the char here is not super strong. The oak by itself really shines through. You're not getting a lot of char. And I get a lot of citrus off of this. Lots of orange, lots of zest. There's definitely a lot of citrus going on in this bourbon, which is not something that I typically associate with bourbon. You do get a little bit of the alcohol, but at least me, I get that with almost every bourbon I drink, because, they are going to be, high in alcohol content. And so you really are going to get the alcohol a little bit on every nose. But this one's, just sort of an average alcohol as far as what you're getting on the nose. But I really get an orange peel, orange vibes, and not a whole lot else, at least to my nose. Maybe a slight hint of caramel in there, but there's not a whole lot of that going on either. It's really very much an orange and a wood. It's almost like if you clean a deck or something, it's like this is the smell that they're going for. When it's like, oh, refreshing smell, it's like, yeah. And then I'm going to put this in my body and through my liver and let it process out of myself, and That's terrifying, but here we are drinking it anyway, right? All right, let's get a flavor on this. I do that almost every time after I drink a bourbon. I get a little cough. I don't know if it dries out the very back of my throat or what, but happens almost every time. Um, let's get another. So what I'm tasting really on the tip of the tongue and through sort of the center of the tongue is almost like a pine flavor. I guess it's probably the wood coming out, but it really doesn't taste like that strong oak. I mean, there's some of that there, but it's really more of like a lighter wood almost. It's like the best I can think of is like a pine. Um, whenever you walk outside and it's cold outside and you've got an evergreen tree, like you smell it and you get kind of that's kind of what I'm tasting on the tip of the tongue and through the center of the tongue. And once you hit the back of the tongue, you really that orange kind of comes out a lot. Um, Orange and citrus notes, and the alcohol really hits then. So then you get that burn and that nice, you know, warmth all the way down. On the back, it really gets that strong orange flavor. Most of the wood goes away for me. Um, most of that wood flavor is on the tip and in the middle of the tongue, and it's not really an oak flavor, it's a pine flavor. And then the orange on the back end kind of makes it taste like you're drinking some sort of a cleaner. That's really the only way I could describe it. And not say it's a bad thing. When you're going into bourbons, you're getting a lot of alcohol. Okay, so you're gonna have that feeling no matter what. And really, even with rums or even a vodka, sometimes you're getting straight alcohol, so it's gonna be pretty rough um, going down. But there is a nice smoothness there, but like I said, not deep oak. Really more of a pine flavor, and then orange on the back. Um, Not really any caramel or any sort of more sweetness, and no sort of thick sweet flavors, which is really what I kind of like in bourbon. I like the caramel, I like the vanillas. Um, I like that dark char, that wood flavor that you get from bourbons, and that's just not here in this Woodford Reserve. Now, doesn't make it a bad bourbon at all. It's just not my particular taste. It's not my preference. Um, so with that being said, I'm going to give this a 6. Uh, Perfectly fine, perfectly good. And I would say actually, if someone that has never drank bourbon or you're trying to get them into bourbon, this may be a good place to start because a lot of those thicker flavors, especially like a charred oak, that really deep oak taste, that could turn a lot of people off because they think, oh, why would I drink something that tastes like a wood? Am I working at a sawmill? Like, what am I doing here? Um, but that to me is sort of where the heart of bourbon is. Now, things that can turn them on about that kind of a bourbon is the caramel and the vanilla flavors. You really want people, if they're trying to get into it, give them something sweet. Don't give them something that's a little more mild like this, because this can just be, they're just saying, well, what flavor? All I taste is alcohol. It just tastes like booze. And that is the case, but it's, they're, the more refined your palate gets to it. And I'm not going to say I have an awesome palate for it yet. I've got a better palate at bourbon than, you know, my mom or my dad do, but they don't hardly drink bourbon. So it's still something I'm trying to refine, and hopefully through this series of videos, I can figure that out a little more. But as it stands, like I said, Woodford Reserve gets a 6 for me. A great starter bourbon though, and a good, if you're just wanting to have a bottle of bourbon around to drink every once in a while, I would recommend getting this because, like I said, it's lighter. It's not going to have that really heavy-handed flavors that some bourbons are associated with, but it's also not going to knock your socks off. It's not something that you're going to keep up on the top shelf, or at least not something I do. Um, but like I said, it is what it is. It's a nice bourbon, not a great bourbon. And if nothing else, I got this really cool glass with the gift set, so totally worth it. That's all for my first bourbon review here. I plan on doing one of these a month. Okay, so once a month you'll be able to see what sort of alcohol I'm reviewing, and maybe some extra videos will pop up on occasion. I really want to get some barrel aged beers. I hate to infringe on Sam and PJ's market, but um, you know, barrel aging kind of fits with what I like in my alcohols, so it makes sense to go after the beers there as well. Also, something else I'd like to note on all my tastings, uh, or all my alcohol tastings at least, I'm going to drink them all straight. So um, I don't know if I've ever had a Woodford on the rocks actually. Some bourbons and whiskeys and scotches, if you put a little bit of water or some ice down in them, it can alter the flavor profile. It can really bring some flavors out or overthrow other flavors. Um, so sometimes people really like that because sometimes the harshness, especially that sort of alcohol burn of a whiskey, can go away with an ice cube. But to me, they sell them in the bottle, meant to drink straight. So that's how I'm going to drink them, and that's how I'm going to review them. But if I've had any other experience with them, I'll certainly mention that, in the review. But as it stands, Woodford Reserve, 6 out of 10. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you soon. And like and comment, subscribe, any of that business if you want to. But especially comment. I'd love for this just to become a place where we can all talk about bourbon and whiskey and whatever I'm drinking. If I get into vodkas at some point, I don't know a lot about vodkas, so maybe I can get good recommendations or whatever. Wherever that conversation leads us, happy to discuss it with you guys. And, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Hope you guys have a good day, and cheers.
Half a bottle